This is Yorick the Gravedigger. One thing we've been doing with our designs recently is kind of looking and saying, what archetypes do we have? What archetypes do players want? What gameplay hooks are we missing that we can do? And how can we iterate on those? And what makes that a League of Legends version, right? Yorick's kind of our answer to a traditional minion-style champion. You know, if you've played a Necromancer from a game like Diablo 2 or Guild Wars or something like that, where there's a lot of summoning disposable, expendable minions, that's the kind of gameplay with minions we're talking about. Not like something like a ranger pet or like anything like that, where it's a pet that has a symbiotic bond to you and is like your companion. This is more like I summon a guy who lasts for a very short time and dies, and I summon him free. Okay. As opposed to doing the soft kind of squishy Necromancer role, we're actually doing a melee bruiser. Yorick is that. Yeah, a melee bruiser that can summon. Okay. So Yorick actually goes up there and he does a lot of the fighting, but his ghouls are kind of like ghouls is the wrong word. Gas, ghost, wraiths, minions, whatever. They're not ghouls because they don't have their feet. So,
looks like Slimer.
Yeah, a little bit, right? It's kind of cool. Yeah, I wish I had Wes here because the original artist, they used Riot Roadkill on the forums, kind of went with this whole direction on it, and you know the big exaggerated teeth and stuff's kind of cool. But yeah, so we went with kind of that like melee guy, more like you know, an undead knight or like, you know, a white or something like that from more traditional fantasy tropes, but you know, with kind of a League of Legends art direction spin with a kind of Undertaker Gravedigger thing. His art is generally this, but we're kind of any things you see in the game right now, we're actually doing some things with the textures in the model a little bit to just sharpen it up a little bit. Cool, so that's our first new champion. So his ability, while his abilities are subject to change, actually all of his abilities basically are called rituals. What those do is they have an immediate effect. You cast a normal spell, so for example, maybe you cast an AoE in an area. That AoE explodes and does like a poison cloud that slows people near it and does damage, and then a necrotic minion appears in the middle of it and lasts for several seconds, and that minion has a small slowing aura on it and follows around and tries to chase people. So it's about combining these immediate effects with the persistent effects of the minions.
So are all the abilities like, do they end up with a minion coming out of it?
Yes, and a different minion. All three abilities summon a different color minion that has a different flavor and theme.
So it's kind of like he's a melee guy with like support minions.
With minions, well, one of them actually does very significant damage too. Like one of them is like a hunter. Let's see. Our next new character is Leona, the Radiant Dawn. This, if you're familiar with our forum community at all, is
a little bit, yeah.
Is our answer to the outcry for a female tank. This is our female tank.
Yeah.
So she has kind of a storied development about her. Like, you know, we saw, hey, people want a female tank, so okay, what's that mean? So we went in and analyzed it a little bit, not just like, you can't just make a woman and make her a tank and I think satisfy what people are actually asking for. Like, so we looked and like some people were saying, hey, we really want like a kind of a shield named Valkyrie, we want a paladin, we want a knight, you know, these kinds of themes kept coming up. And then we looked at it, we really went towards the knight route.
Like basic sword and shield type.
We also found out in 70 plus characters, we do not have a character with a sword and shield in the game.
Yeah, well, all I can think of right now are like Poppy and
Hammer and Shield.
Oh, I was right.
Yeah, nobody actually has a sword and shield combination. Right. So we thought that was kind of like a funny realization we came to. It was like, well, let's do a sword and shield character,
I
right?
didn't realize that either.
Yeah, we actually had to really think about it, and we were like, no, of course we've done a sword. Wait, no, we really haven't done one. So we figured this is the right one. We started at a really basic paladin, kind of like the Holy Knight from D&D kind of flavor, you know, that very traditional trope. And we did it, and we tried that, and it kind of ended up looking a little boring. You know, we were like, I don't know, maybe this isn't as exciting. What can we do to spice this up? What's the curveball we can put on this whole thing? And so we decided, what if she gets all of her powers from like solar powers and the sun and the daytime and things like that? Like, you know, she's kind of a light knight, but light in the actual sense of the word and not like random holy power.
Kind of like,
and so,
Super Magus' power.
Yeah, a little bit, right? And then, so that really pushed her visual direction in a completely different area where we see, you know, sunbursts on the sword and the shield, the flaring coming out, the fiery red hair. Her skills are all themed with this sun thing going on. Like, her kind of marquee ability as it is currently, obviously is all subject to change. What we're doing right now is, her ultimate has like a beam of sun break from the sky and shine down on an area for a couple of seconds, and it slows people in that area. And after it expires, a big crash solar flare comes down and hits the whole area and stuns and damages everybody there. and it's actually very long range. It's like a screen wide.
Is it like AoE or is it like
it's
target?
That is AoE.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of her primary long range initiation abilities, and then she actually has other initiation and CCs on her basic kit. She is a full-on tank, not a fighter.
That was her ult you were talking about.
That's correct.
Is that like
our last champion we're showcasing today is Skarner, the Crystal and Scorpion. So there's another kind of like story development I like to share with people, where it's like we've been looking at like how can we do new monstrous champions that are really cool, right? Like Nocturne's kind of there, but he's still kind of humanoid, right?
Yeah.
So we looked at who are popular monstrous champions. What do our fans say? This is monstrous and cool. We found Cho'Gath, definitely. Cho'Gath's a beast, right? Everybody loves Cho'Gath. He eats you.
Gentleman Cho'Gath.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and when you make him goofy, it actually works for some reason. Then we have like guys like Kog'Maw. He's about 50-50. He's pretty cool, but he's a little smaller. He has some grotesque kind of features, which I think turns some people off. He's a little more gross than he is like monstrous and badass. And then we have a couple I think that miss the mark, more like Trundle or Urgot, where they're monstrous in certain ways, but not the ways I think League of Legends players are actually like really appreciative of. So we looked at that, did a lot of research into it, and tried to figure it out. And this is what we came up with was, hey, maybe a Scorpion. He's got a lot of weapons. So there's something Volibar, Travis George likes to say, is we chose Scorpion because Scorpions are just kind of inherently scary and mean. But if Scorpions were the sizes of cows, like those would be real monsters in the real world. Like you would have tales of knights that slayed them in the Middle Ages, right? Like, they would be beasts, right? So we're like, okay, well, a scorpion, and then, make it a little monstrous, give it some magic or a little bit of flavor. So we did that originally. And we're like, okay, yep, that's Scorpion.
Yours kind of cool. I like the little runes around his head.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about some of these visual elements, actually, and why we chose to go with it. And again, this is a pretty early concept. We haven't even made the model or anything yet. But, so what we found the problem was something like a scorpion, when you see that in the real world, that thing is a dumb bug. It's not an intelligent thinking, you couldn't have a conversation with a scorpion if you knew how to talk, right? Like it's just like, it's an instinctual animal. We wanted characters with personalities that you want to be for 30 to 45 minutes, right? So we had to work really hard to try to bring some of that out in Skarner. And we've done some elements here and we have more work to do. Like we're going to do some things with changing the face probably and some things like that. Maybe a little bit of changing in where the head lives. But one thing we did is covering him in crystals and making him a new race. Basically, he's not a scorpion, he's this kind of scorpion-inspired crystalline creature from, underneath the earth. That's kind of a different little thing. And then we gave him this crest here it's kind of almost like a crown, actually, for him. He's actually the leader of a small tribe of these guys. And so he's tactical, intelligent, articulate, and those kinds of things. But he's also still predatory and kind of like monstrous, right? The marquee ability we're going for him right now, this is untested, so we really hope we can do this. This giant tail goes and impales an enemy champion, and Skarner can't do any other skills for a few seconds, but he can drag them around with him. So we're kind of hoping for that monster movie moment where like maybe you're fighting in lane with a couple of dudes, like a couple guys on your side, Skarner comes out of the bush, grabs a dude with his tail, and drags him back into the bush.
That would be very
so, awesome. And we also think that's going to give him a really unique place in the game. Like nobody else can do that.
That would be pretty, like kind of like Blitzcrank, like where he goes through the trees, and you just grab somebody like that. But it'd be like more.
You actually like maneuver them to where you want them to.
Yeah. Would that be like what kind of the idea? What kind of range do you want with it?
I don't know. Probably not exactly melee because I think that'd be hard to utilize, but we'll figure out. That, like I said, that concept needs to work first, and then we'll work about range, damage, duration numbers. Like we know you won't stun you for more than 3 seconds because that's our hard cap on single target CC. And then so that's Skarner. He'll be either a fighter or a tank. I think we're leaning towards fighter right now. So that's all our new champions. Now let's go ahead and show you our new feature, which is Spectator Mode, which you've probably heard a little about already at this point.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to go spectate a game now. Right now, so initially we're only going to be releasing this with custom games. We eventually want to get this into normal and ranked. But we kind of have a philosophy with this feature specifically. Like a lot of things, we want to get it to good, clean, and functional, but not necessarily every single feature we wanted, so we can get it into people's hands faster, because it's going to take us some time to make those features, and we could just not release it, but if it works, people should be able to at least use the basic version while the feature's still in development.